Hey guys, Josh here, back with another video, and as you can see, I am not in my usual location in the Voyager office. I am actually outside. It's a really nice concept to be just outside, not confined to a restricted space inside. So what I have for you guys today is my tech kit. When I used to work on site, basically you want to fit as much stuff as possible into a kit and then take it to your client's house and service their computer. So basically you want to have as much stuff crammed into your case. Now actually this is my tech kit, but I also have a backpack that I carry with me with a bunch of other stuff in it, but there's too much stuff to drag out here for you guys, so I'm just going to be showing you my tech kit with the most stuff in it. So let's go ahead and open this up. And as you can see, I already have a lot of stuff in here. So I'm going to go through and just show you guys what you should have in your tech kit if you are doing on-site service or just stuff in general. Good electronics to have when you're servicing other people's computers, because you need to realize that most people are illiterate with computers if they're hiring you, by the way. So you want to become prepared. You want to have stuff, because it's not like, oh, do you have a USB 3.0 hub, or do you have a optical disk drive? Because they're not going to have a clue. You need to have everything on hand. So yeah, let's get started. I'm just going to start pulling random stuff out and showing you guys quickly why I have it in my tech kit. So first of all, thermal paste. I don't think this will come out. There we go. Thermal paste is essential. Every single techie guy should have thermal paste, because you are most likely going to be swapping thermal paste on their CPU or other components as well, maybe their GPU if they have one. So yes, thermal paste is highly, highly recommended. All right, also I have a little grabber here. There's a magnet at the end of this pen, and the cool thing about it is you can actually pull it out super far. So if you lose something in their computer, or it's on the ground, it falls under their desk and there's a bunch of cables, you could use this to fetch it out. You don't need to go in with your hands and have to raffle through cables and stuff. You can use this. It is super, super convenient. I'm not too sure what it's called. It's probably like a magnetic pen extension, probably search something like that, but these are super, super to have. I think this might have came in an actual iFixit kit, so there you have it. All right, moving on to the next item, we have a USB here, and this USB has Windows XP, Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 8.1, and Windows 10 all jammed into it. How I did this was I actually created a multi-boot partition on it. It's used by a software called Yummy, Y-U-M-I. And by using Yummy, you can put a bunch of ISOs onto the USB and choose which one to boot from, basically. So that is super, super good to have, because a lot of clients that you have, especially like older people, you're going to be dealing with Windows XP and Windows 7, and they're going to be 32-bit OSs. So you want to come prepared and make sure you have every single one. So I do have every single one on this USB. And for the next item, Sata Cables. These are all 6 gigabits per second. You can have also 3 gigabits per second, which I have one right here, but in general, these, you can put a 6 gigabit and a 3 gigabit port, so I just highly recommend to have a bunch of 6 gigabit Sata cables, because if they want to hook up another hard drive, or if one of their cables is defective, or any reason really, you are really going to want some Sata cables. So yeah, that's basically it for that. Make sure you have Sata cables in your tech kit. Moving on to the next item would be an external hard drive. This hard drive is 2 terabytes, and basically if you need to back up any of their data, you want to make sure you have a hard drive to do so. So this is a Western Digital Passport. It is 2 terabytes, 5400 RPM. Not quite sure of the cache size, but you also want to make sure you have the proprietary, not proprietary, but to an extent it is, cable with it, USB 3.0 to, I think that's micro USB or mini USB. So yeah, make sure you have the cable for it, because you don't want to show up there and be like, hey, do you have what is this cable? So yeah, super, super good to have for backups. Moving on to the next item is a pair of electrical tape. This is pretty much essential. Electrical tape will save your butt in so many situations. I don't even know where to start. But yeah, electrical tape is super, super good to have, and it's highly recommended if you have a tech kit. For the next item would be a USB, and this is a Corsair Survivor Stealth 3.0 USB, and it is 64 gigabytes. This USB is super, super handy. Has a shielding on it, so if you get it wet or if you run it over with a car, it is going to be still intact and usable. Basically, what I have on this USB is a bunch of programs, a bunch of tools, IDA64, stress testing, benchmarking, CPU-Z, GPU-Z, just a bunch of utilities if I need to figure out what is wrong with their computer in particular. So that is super, super good to have. You don't need to have a high capacity one like this. Just something in general to have a bunch of tools on is extremely handy to have. Moving on to the next item would be a ASUS. Actually, you don't need to have an ASUS, but just a Wi-Fi adapter in general. You don't know what's going on with the computer. They might have a laptop that the integrated Wi-Fi adapter died on it, broke on it. The drivers aren't compatible, especially when you put a new OS on their laptop. Typically their Wi-Fi adapter isn't going to be working because you need to put drivers on it. How are you going to put drivers on it if it can't connect to the internet and they only have a wireless router? Well, this is where the wireless adapter comes in handy. I actually have two of them in this tech kit as well. Here's another one right here. I don't know why I have two, maybe for redundancy purposes if this one doesn't work. This is a super good one. This is also a good one as well. This is a D-Link, so either one, just get a wireless adapter in general. It is extremely handy to have. For the next item, we have a USB 3.0 hub here. This is a really cool hub. It has four USB 3.0 expandability options with a USB going into your computer here. So you have 4 ports here, and you also have a power port if you are going to exceed the USB 3.0 power through the one that's going into your computer here. Moving on to the next item would be a knife. This is multi-purpose. There's so many uses for having a knife, cutting cable ties in their computer, getting something loose. There's so many uses for having a knife, and it's highly recommended to have a knife. You don't need anything big, just a little pocket knife just to get something out. Even a multi-tool knife, like a Swiss Army knife, has a bunch of extensions on it, screwdrivers, a bunch of stuff. You want that, so make sure you have that in your tech kit. Moving on to the next item would be some cable ties or tie wraps. These are essential. Once again, you can get them in various sizes. I have a bunch of big ones, and then you get smaller ones. You can also get some that are black if you don't want like white ones. If they're really anal about aesthetics in particular, you can get black ones. But in general, you are going to want tie wraps because if once you're done like upgrading their computer or building a computer for them, you are going to want to make sure that all of their cables are tidy. So make sure you have these in your tech kit. Moving on to the next item, this is an essential, but what this basically does is if you're building a computer on site or you need to transplant their computer into another case, what this does is you actually plug this into the power header, not the power header, but the to start up your computer, the power button at the front of the computer. You plug this into the motherboard where you typically have the motherboard cable for the front of the computer to power it on. This goes directly into the motherboard, and you can turn the computer on with this switch here. So you don't need to actually get the case to power it on or like short circuit it or something like wonky. Just use this cable. I also have it threaded, which is kind of sleeved, which is kind of nice. But yeah, just to turn it on like that, just to see if it works. If you're testing something, this is kind of cool to have, but it's definitely not essential. Moving on to the next item, this is definitely not recommended at all. You do not need to have this in your tech kit, but this is a Max Keyboard Cherry MX keyboard tester. I cannot tell you guys how many times I've went to a client's house or just have people in general come over to my apartment and be like, hey, that's a cool computer setup. And they see my keyboard and they test it out and they're like, oh, what keys are those? And I'm like, oh, they're Cherry MX Blues. I like in particular. And they're like, oh, I want to get something like Browns. It's like, but they don't know what to get. They don't know what it feels like. So they actually need to go to a store and test it out. But no, with this keyboard switcher tester here, Cherry MX key switch tester here, has every single key switch that Cherry MX has produced. This is a slightly older model, so it doesn't have the Cherry MX Clear or the, I think the red one that's like 0.1 milliseconds to actually get down. So yeah, it has 8 of them though, so this is super good to have just for them to test out which ones they like in particular. Moving on to the next item would be a USB 3.0 cable. This is pretty much an extension cable, female to male, just to extend something if you need something extended. If their computer's way down here and you need to get it up here, you don't want to be going back. You're going to kill your back if you're just on the floor on your knees, on the computer, in the back, under a desk or something. You're going to want an extension, so definitely get a USB 3.0 extension. You can get 2.0, but 3.0 is going to carry more voltage and amperage and higher read and write speeds and stuff, bandwidth, so basically you are going to want a USB 3.0 extender. For the next item, you are going to want to use to have this in your tech kit. This is essential. Absolutely 10 out of 10. and that is business cards. I don't know why I have a Mod by Mods here, a business card in here, but definitely a shout out to Mod by Mods because they are an awesome company. They have so much water cooling supplies, so yeah, definitely check them out if you need anything water cooling wise. But as of my business cards, yeah, definitely have business cards. Like I have a bunch in here actually. I think I have a whole actual Vistaprint thing full of them. So definitely have business cards because you want to have those ready for your clients. Moving on to the next item would be a pair of anti-static gloves. Now I know if you go to like, if you're gonna build a computer in general, you're not gonna kill it with static electricity. Like there's probably like a 0.1% chance of you doing it, unless you're like intentionally like just feeding yourself a bunch of voltage then directly touching a computer. But it is always good to have a pair of electrostatic gloves on the site when you're doing on-site repair, and even like a wristband that's connected, that's grounded, just to show the client that you've come prepared, you have all the necessary equipment, and it looks super professional as well. It's like, yeah, look at, I have anti-static gloves, I have this, looks very professional. You would definitely want to have some sort of gloves or wrist strap, doesn't matter which ones. Alright guys, for the next item would be a power supply tester. You have no idea how many times I've went to a client's house or customer's house and their power supply just doesn't work. So if you want to test that out, these are super handy. I got this for about $40 to $50. It's a Thermaltake power supply tester. Basically how it works is you put the 20 or 24 pin power supply cable into the bottom, you put a PCIe 8X or 6X in the top, a CPU EPS cable and a Molex or Sata in the top here, and you can test out if the voltages are reading correctly. If you're getting like, just to see if you're getting the voltages correctly. That's essentially what this does. And if it's not correct, it would beep red and show you what voltage it's actually getting. So these are super handy, and I'd actually highly recommend this. And I'd actually say that this actually might be proprietary for a on-site location fix. Alright, moving on to the next item, and I've already said that I have a whole bunch of operating systems on this USB here. By the way, you'd probably want some Linux distributions on the USB as well, but that's entirely up to you. Not many people use Linux, but other than that, you are going to want a Windows actual CD here, just in case the customer wants to buy it off you, like an actual sealed copy with a key inside of it. Also have one for Windows 7, and you'd also want one for Windows XP. I know, it's discontinued. Windows XP is totally discontinued, but a lot of people actually still use it, so you're gonna want a CD with that as well, just in case the customer is like, hey, I actually need like an actual key, so can I buy one off you? And you can sell them this. So yeah, definitely you're gonna be wanting these. Moving on to the next item, we have the Arctic Clean thermal paste surface purifier and thermal paste remover. Basically, this is isopropyl alcohol, but this is like actually really good stuff. If you're always swapping thermal paste on computers or building them, you are gonna want to consider getting these. It comes off super easily. You put a little bit on the CPU, wait about, I don't know, probably about like 15-20 seconds, and then it comes right off with a cloth. So these are highly recommended as well. Or you can just get some isopropyl alcohol. Anything over 70% will do perfectly fine. Moving on to the next item, we have a bunch of screws, thumb screws, SLI bridges, low noise fan adapters, just a bunch of stuff in here. Molex, just a bunch of cables and small screws, because you never know if your customer, and this is like this is actually a must-have. You don't know if your customer is going to be losing like a certain type of screw or something, so there's a bunch of screws in here, and even to the extent of getting a battery for the motherboard. You don't know if their motherboard battery has died or something, so you're gonna just want a bunch of screws in here. Also, I have some Torx screws for if they need, like, if they have a laptop. Some laptop screws are very weird, so you're gonna need to get some Torx screws for them, because you can't take apart a laptop with a Phillips screw or something, so you're definitely gonna want something like that. Alright guys, moving on to the next item. This is absolutely a must-have, totally essential, and that is a screwdriver. It doesn't matter what type of a screwdriver you have. I'd highly recommend having a ratchet screwdriver as well, because it is so easy to put screws in and it's not going to kill your wrist. There's a bunch of bit attachments on this one as well. This is a snap-on screwdriver. You get it for about, I pay Canadian for this, by the way, so it's about $80 to $100, but in the back here you have a bunch of bits here. It actually has an O-ring as well, so water doesn't get in here and corrode the bits, so that's really cool. But in general, you're going to want a screwdriver that is a ratchet, or just a screwdriver in general. It's a must-have, and yeah, you're going to want it in your tech kit. Moving on to the next item. Oh wait, no, items. And that is heat sinks. You are definitely going to want heat sinks for Intel systems and AMD systems. I like the AMD here because it doesn't have like for mounting brackets like the Intel does here. But with the AMD, basically if they're running any system, doesn't matter if it's Intel or AMD or something else that I don't even know about, you could put this directly onto the CPU and just plug it in and just run it. If you just want to make sure that something works, if you want to go into the BIOS and test something out very fast, this is super good to have. So yeah, and even ones with the thermal paste pre-applied, you have thermal paste obviously already, but even if they want to purchase something like this off of you to do later or something. So yes, having heat sinks is highly recommended and even essential in some cases. Alright guys, moving on to the next items. These are pretty much essential. These things have come in handy so many times, and that is a USB 3.0 to a serial ATA interface and power connector. Basically, what you can do with this is take out their hard drive. You can hook their hard drive up via the SATA serial ATA interface and power connector and plug it into your computer. It will recognize it instantly, so you could diagnose their computer without having to actually hook it into their motherboard or something. You can hook this directly into your laptop or something. This is highly recommended, highly recommended. And this does the same thing. You're also going to want this, but this is for IDE systems. So if they have an old IDE hard drive, basically that's with the pins on it, this will accomplish the same thing. Alright guys, there's still a lot of stuff in here, but I don't think you're going to have time to actually go through everything, so I'm just going to quickly power through this. These here are actual, what is it? It's a Molex to fan. Basically, you can hook up multiple fans utilizing this Molex series. So you can hook up about how many? You can hook up 4 more fans using this. They are G-lid solutions, so you can get these for the system if they need more fans. So basically, as I told you guys, I can't fit everything in here, so I carry a separate backpack on me, and I just have a list written on a sticky note of what I would have in that backpack. So basically, you're going to want an antivirus, either on USB or CD, so just in case they have a virus, they want to purchase it off you, so have antivirus. Have a router, just in case the router is broken. Who knows what they've done to it? Maybe it's not working. Hook yours up, and then you can say, yeah, look, your router's broken, you're going to need a new one. Fans, yeah, you're definitely going to want to carry a couple 120mm fans. You probably won't need 140mm, but if you have the room, what the hell? Get a couple 140s, maybe even a 200 if you really wanted to. For the next item, cables. Yeah, you're going to want a bunch of like GPU cables, just cables in general. Like I have a bunch here. So just like get a bunch of Molex, get SATAs, just a bunch of cables because you don't know what you're walking into. Yeah, and a keyboard. So you're going to want a keyboard with a PS2 plug at the back because compatibility-wise, those are super good. But any keyboard in general would work. For the next item, an Ethernet cord. You're going to want a very long Ethernet cord because just in case their router or modem is way across the room and you need to use an Ethernet cord for some reason, you have it. Compressed air, essential, proprietary. You will need compressed air when going over to customers' houses. So yeah, make sure you have that. Also a flashlight. A lot of people's phones already have a flashlight built into it, but it's kind of cool to have an actual like mini LED flashlight with you as well. It looks more professional, like you've come prepared. Make sure you have a power cord for the computer because who knows, once again. Also an extension cable. Make sure you have an extension cable for power because you don't know where you're going to be walking into. Also make sure you have your own laptop that works and is fully functional with all the drivers updated on it because you are definitely going to need a laptop or a tablet or something in that essence. And yeah, for the last one, keyboard, I already mentioned that, but yeah, that's pretty much it for my tech kit tutorial here. Also, I have an iFixit kit here. iFixit is super great. I'm not sponsored by them. I just like their kits and everything. So you can get a bunch more tools in here and bits and everything to get into the most obscure devices and bits. Alright guys, that basically wraps it up. Give this video a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I really hope that you guys liked it. Also check out rookmediapros.com. He helped me film this video. He has very professional equipment. I was actually like, whoa, blown away by the amount of professional gear he has over here, so definitely check that out. Shout out to Scott Rook for that. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.